What's going on, beautiful people? It's your girl, Sheree Robin, Simon & Schuster bestselling author, editor, publisher, all that good stuff. And today, as always, we're talking books, business, and building a life you love. And this conversation is specifically geared towards all of the aspiring authors out there who think that, like, going, I'm laughing already, y'all. I'm laughing already, y'all, because this, as an editor, is like one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I see really, really smart people making all of the time. And here it is. Let me give you this thing so you can stop making this mistake and stop doing this one thing that is going to slow you down from actually getting your book completed. And here's the tea. Here's what it is. It is thinking that you can figure it all out by yourself. That's it, right? I know that sounds pretty crazy and pretty simple when you think about it, but I'll give you a scenario. So, this is how it usually goes, right? As an editor, I meet hundreds of thousands of people who want to write a book, right? Writing a book is usually the number 3 New Year's resolution every year, right? Millions of people around the globe want to write a book. And so I'll meet these people and they're like, I have been thinking about writing this book for years, Sheree. I'm really trying to figure this thing out. I gotta lock in, I gotta make it make sense. And I say, great. A big part of what we do is helping you get clarity, right? It's helping you understand and figure out what your message actually is. And then they'll say, yeah, but I'm not ready for that. I gotta figure out what my message is. I gotta figure this out. I have to sit with this. And I go, how long have you already been sitting with it? Like, how long have you already been wrestling this thing down like a tired dog? And sometimes it's years, right? And not like 2 or 4, it's like 5, 10, 15 years I've been trying to figure this out. And so my question sometimes is like, if you have been trying to figure this out for years and you cannot figure this thing out, why you keep trying to figure it out by yourself? like why is that the go-to for so many smart people? And I think it's just because we're like, oh, I got this. I'm smart enough. I built this business. I can make this make sense. I grew this company. I learned how to balance my credit. I learned how to buy property. I did all these amazing, incredible things. And you're rock stars in these spaces, right? The business owners, the coaches, the amazing entrepreneurs that I speak to. But the one thing that is stopping them from actually getting a book written, executed, done, published, being a badass, published author is this idea that when they're stuck, they got to figure it out themselves. I have to figure this thing out. And I'm like, and you have to then, you like the response from that is that you are now going to sit in that figuring out for the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, however many years. So understand that saying that is almost like I don't want to say it's a cop out, but it is a way sometimes to like shirk the actual work of it. Like, oh, I'll figure it out later, right? I'll push it down as opposed to let me step up in this space and be challenged, right? Let me get into a relationship with a professional editor that's going to ask me tough questions, right? Someone who has years of experience who can unpack all the cobwebs and the stuff that you have packed on top of this concept and this idea. There has to be a way for someone to get in there and make sense of it. And by the grace of God, that is what my team and I do. So when I meet people who just are like, oh, I'll continue to struggle, know that there's a resolution out there for me somewhere, right? I know this doesn't have to be hard, but I'll continue to struggle. My question would be like, why? Why? Why do you want to keep struggling? Right? The reality of it is that there is not one single book ever. Not matter of fact, and I'm so glad I have this, right? There is not one book that has ever been written alone, right? And so many people are, oh, I want to tell my story. And I think about Becoming, right? I think about Michelle Obama and Becoming. And I want to share this with you because I don't think that y'all understand. Right? It's a beautiful book, beautifully well written, absolutely wonderfully composed. But here's what Michelle Obama says about writing this 400 plus page book. She says, then there is my editor, Molly Stern, whose enthusiasm, energy, and passion instantly drew me to her. Molly kept me buoyed by her unwavering faith in my vision for this book. I am forever grateful to her and the entire Crown team, including, and then she goes on to list, I don't know, 12 to 15 people that all make Becoming possible. Hear me when I say this. There is not one brilliant person alive who figures it out alone, right? There is not, especially not when it comes to unfamiliar territory, right? So whether you are a master of arts, whether you have multiple degrees, whether you've built a business in real estate from the ground up, when you are moving into an unfamiliar space, trying to figure out how to do the unknown in isolation and by yourself is a setup. It is a setup for procrastination. It is a setup for delay. It is a setup for keeping you stuck, right? It's a mindset trick that's going to keep you locked and trapped in that space. You're not going to break free from that, right? If you've been struggling trying to figure this thing out for 10 years, what makes it different now, right? What is different now for you to all of a sudden understand what has to happen in order to make this book work? So hear me when I say this, y'all. I be laughing because it's so it just blows my mind when I hear people that are like, "Oh, I just got to figure this out." And I'm like, you do know that's what an editor does, right? Like that is a part, and maybe that's it. Maybe so many people do not fully understand what an editor actually does, right? So it's not just get an editor at the end of the process, but Michelle says she had seven, no, she had like 14 people helping her through the process. And any other manuscript that you are going to pick up or touch or feel like any other quality book, there's going to be some support. There's going to be an editor who has been along this journey and this process with this author. It is not a solo process. It's not something that you have to figure out by yourself. You don't have to miraculously all of a sudden become some prolific book writer, and even though you haven't read or written anything since college or freaking high school, some people, right? That it's a setup for failure. So don't do it, right? Do not fall into that trap. Do not believe that you have to of your own. And don't get it wrong, you are brilliant, right? No shade to the smart people, right? But it is a setup, and it is a surefire way for you to prolong this process, and sometimes prolong it inevitably, right? Sometimes it keeps getting pushed back and you never get there, right? We never get to completion, and that is not what I want for you, right? I want you to become beautifully published, phenomenal, chef's kiss, authority building authors with real books that make a real impact. In order to do that, you have to get the right help, and you have to get out of your own head and stop thinking that you have to figure this out by yourself, because you don't. Okay. Hope that blesses you. Hope that feels real good to you. And even if it feels uncomfortable, that's okay. It's okay if it feels uncomfortable to you. Growth is on the other side of that discomfort. So grow, my loves. Grow, write amazing books, and let myself and my team know if you need some help. All right. I see you in the next video.